Ghost story, apartment has demons. Author, Knock Tram. I angrily walked into the room, slammed the door, leaned face down on the bed and pursed my lips tightly. Without saying anything, without being told, tears just kept flowing. I stayed like that for more than an hour. Outside is my mother's voice. "Mom, I bought milk, do you want some milk? Can I make it for you to drink?" I'm so angry, even though milk coffee is my addiction. If I need to drink it, I can go out and break the ice, put in the coffee and milk. I don't need to ask my mother to do anything, I answered her. "I don't want it." After that, I didn't hear my mother say anything else. Instead it was her voice calling my sister. Fate. After a few seconds, the mother's voice continued. Little lamb is at home pretending to want to go to work again. I couldn't hear what she said, I could only hear my mother's voice asking again. He's still too stupid to go up there, how can he live? Going to the supermarket down here, there's an old man there and he's still lost, so if he gets lost in Saigon, how will he know where to find him? I got out of bed, opened the door softly, and quietly went out to listen to the story. On the other side is her voice. Then just ask whoever is free to bring him up here. The place to live is with the child. Come here to work at a company. Come back in the morning and come back in the afternoon. If you come here and skip meals, you'll starve and show the situation. Living under your parents is happy. So don't want. No way, he starved himself and lost calcium and fainted. Then when he went up there, if someone saw him, he lured him away and lost everything. Don't worry, if you are under the youngest child's control, you will be managed the same way up here, but I'm too worried. Baby lamb will occasionally come up and down, and I'll see who dares to kidnap her. But mom is sad. What's sad? At that time, when I was 15 I already knew how to work, now my youngest son is over 20, what's more? Why is he so smart about keeping him at home all the time? Now that I have strength and the shrimp and crab can still run, I can still take care of it. Someday, when I'm old and can't raise it, will I give it away or what? Sooner or later, I have to go through life, find someone who is free to bring him here for a trial. If he can stay, if he can't, he can go home. Oh, it's weird, let me see what I can prepare for him to go up there. Hearing this, I felt like I had hope of going to prosperous Saigon. I felt both happy and indescribably nervous. Gently tiptoed into the room again and gently closed the door. Not many minutes later, my mother walked in. Mom just called me, now let's go get a bank card, send you something to transfer money, then go to work if possible, put your salary in there so it's easy, put it somewhere and then go to Saigon. I turned around. Really, Mom? Are you kidding? Let's drink coffee, Mom will go see the shrimp square. Yes. My mother put down her cup of milk coffee and walked out of the room. I looked at the cup of coffee and couldn't help but take a sip. Milk coffee is always delicious and Mom is always amazing. Fast forward to the day I went to Saigon. Before that, my mother had arranged my clothes for me. She was very thoughtful, separating out each outfit that I liked, and comfortable ones so I could easily find them. I went with my family to the city. During the long journey, I was so nauseous that I couldn't sleep. I tried to look out the car window at the scenes on the road. It was the first time I went that far, so I wanted to embrace all of this moment. The car drove for nearly 9 hours, finally arriving, and in the end what satisfied me most was that Saigon already had my footprints. Happy like never before. I looked at my phone clock, it was almost 3 in the morning. Find a hotel to stay until morning before coming to stay with you. As soon as I stepped out of the hotel, I was greeted by countless lines of cars, running side by side. Joining the traffic flow to the apartment, Saigon is extremely bustling during the day, an atmosphere that doesn't exist in the countryside or exists but I haven't had the chance to witness it yet. Stepping into the elevator, I experienced the feeling of riding an elevator once in the countryside, and now it's the second time. Before the elevator closed, I saw a girl with long, black wavy hair standing right at the door, but the elevator closed so quickly that I couldn't see her face clearly. Finding my room, I put down my backpack and then my life in Saigon officially began. Learning a little about how to live in this place, after eating with my sister, I went out. Because I didn't know how to press the elevator, I had to take the stairs just to be sure. When I got down to the second floor, I met that girl again. My hair was still loose, walking in the opposite direction from me. Suddenly in my ear I heard a warning voice. Don't look at that girl. Of course I obeyed, just glanced at people and past each other. After taking a few steps down the steps, I felt an indescribable chill, and my heart was now beating strongly in the left side of my chest. I have experienced this uncomfortable feeling of insecurity many times, but this time it is a very special feeling of insecurity. It is more intense than ever. It made it hard for me to breathe and I knew I had to walk quickly away from this place. Suddenly I felt like the girl was staring at me, but I didn't have the courage to turn around and look. After walking a line, I returned. Because there are so many turns here and I don't have my phone with me, I'm afraid of getting lost. When I returned, I chose to go the same route, but this time I couldn't see the girl anymore. But that cold feeling still lingers in my mind, making me hesitant to step over these stairs. When I got to my room, like old habit, I plugged in my phone and started listening to familiar music. Whatever the music is, it also depends on my mood, because I'm not picky about the type of music. I lay down until evening before going to take a shower. When I came back, my sister seemed to be waiting for me. Hey lamb, want to go out? Where to go? Go around to buy something to eat, let's see Saigon. Hoy, you're too lazy. At home, you want to come up here, so if you can't go out now, why don't you stay downstairs? Come up here to remove the rice. Now I'll take you to remove the rice, will you come? No, I'm too lazy, let's go another day. Oh, then let's reheat the food and then eat it. Thinking of inviting you out to eat. Okay, let's warm up, I'm so lazy. Well, you came up here, what happened to the wormwood trees below? Did anyone follow you up here? I planted those plants to make the house smell good, but I didn't practice them, so don't worry. As for asking if anyone will follow, honestly I'll get as much as I want. As long as there are no more than 30,000 people. Don't go to the company suddenly, the kids in there are very afraid of ghosts. I've never seen you go up without any reason, but I was relied on, not possessed, and called you up. Up on the roof. And when I came here this morning, have I seen any ghosts yet? I heard that there are ghosts here. God. Is there a ghost that you dare to stay in? Well, they didn't do anything to me, but I heard that anyone who is weak-minded is considered small. What's so terrible? Don't scare me, I'm going back to my hometown to live with my mother. What? You have someone following you, but are you also afraid of ghosts? Why aren't you afraid, Mom? It's not like the master and the patriarch are always here. And then, I heard that you practiced very highly in your previous life, so in this life the patriarch will follow your teachings. But now you say you're afraid of ghosts. Who knows what happened in the past life, Mom, This life is not enough to worry about. Okay, go down and prepare the dishes for dinner. I got out of bed, prepared a bowl for the two of us to eat together. I don't know whether I practiced in my past life or not, I just heard what my mother said. For a Taoist, if he wants to have the underworld to support him, he must invite them. As for me, I am not a Taoist priest, because I have never given a meeting to the patriarch before. But since I was little, there have been soldiers who have accompanied me to help me, and they only appear when I am in trouble, not normally. I was also guided by an old man and an old woman, I call them master and master. Usually I see her more often, because she is very busy, sometimes I only see her once every few years. I once asked Master, why do those people always appear when I'm about to be in trouble? The Master replied, because in my previous life I was a person who cultivated very high dharma, subdued many demons and convinced many soldiers. After I left that world, some soldiers chose to follow their own path, while the rest did not submit to other cultivators and were willing to wait for my reincarnation. They have been with us for a long time, and now they continue to accompany you, it's just that now is not the time for you to recognize them. Other soldiers only know how to obey the trainer's orders, but those soldiers are different, very different, they can distinguish between left and right to act. To be more precise, they are already soldiers, soldiers are many times stronger than soldiers. So, in your past life was someone with a face quite similar to yours, but more beautiful, who appeared every time they went to the temple or on special occasions. Master nodded. It's that person. I feel like the sentence I just heard was a joke. Why is it that the previous life is a soul, the next life is a soul, sometimes even exchanging bodies, while souls when they want to change lives will not be able to communicate with each other in such a form? Thinking that way, if I were reincarnated 10 times, there would be dozens of souls just like me. That's too absurd. The Master seemed to read me, he just smiled. I am a being who constantly eliminates unnecessary things to advance to a higher realm. As I said in your previous life, you were a person who cultivated the Dharma at a very high level, so you cannot explain it using the reincarnation method of ordinary people. The person you call your soul is actually just an existing heroic spirit. That heroic spirit was previously a human with enough soul. Because he practiced diligently enough, he needed to go to another more suitable world, but that world could not exist. That person separated his soul and stayed here to repay his karma. It is you in the present, and the part about the other person is actually just a heroic spirit. Do not confuse the heroic spirit with the soul, because this is the part that contains diligent practice, but if sentient beings do not undergo practice, cannot have. Because you are so special, your Tam soul is also special. Think about your dreams and you will automatically have the answer. So what? I don't understand what those dreams have to do with me and that heroic spirit. Master still patiently explained to me. Because my 3 souls are inherited from that heroic spirit, first I have a type of dream that people who have not undergone cultivation cannot have, which is the Tan Min Mong. And not to mention the people you often dream about in the past and present that you have not contacted until now because there is not enough fate to reunite. Those people could be the love of a past life that will meet each other in this life, or it could be one of the jobs that you will experience in the future. You yourself were born to pay for the things in your dreams so that the other heroic spirit can go to another world, right? Master nodded. I just sighed and thought about my dreams. He also stopped being there to talk to me. It turns out that everything I have now was left behind by that heroic spirit. Human life is just one life in the flow of reincarnation, this life follows the next, inheriting and inheriting each other. Everything is encapsulated in the 4 words, cause, karma. I had a restless sleep because this place was still very strange to me. On the morning of the second day, I started working at the company and got a job. This is the first time in my life that I work far away and without my mother's supervision. I am both happy and worried. After work, my sister and I returned home and met the girl again as the elevator door gradually closed. To be honest, I've met souls many times in my life, but I just met a soul with such shady movements, so why don't I just go through the elevator? At night, my sister invited me to go out, but I was very lazy. I worked all day and just wanted to lie down and rest, and more importantly, Saigon was noisier than I thought. So I chose to stay at home and listen to meditation music to relax my mind. Saigon is still bustling, my work still goes on as usual, only Sunday is off. I still choose to take the stairs down instead of taking the elevator because I'm afraid of the feeling of taking the elevator alone. I'm not afraid of ghosts, I'm not afraid of demons, but I'm afraid of closed spaces and afraid of beards. I'm very shy standing near a boy with too much beard. I don't know where that fear comes from. Compared to encountering a ghost, touching a bushy beard gives goosebumps many times more. Because of that, my father never had too much beard. He shaved the top off and left only his chin. Maybe when I was little, I was scared that people with beards would kidnap children, so that fear still follows me to this day. Today is my 4th day here. I'm already familiar with the stairs and the way up to my room. When I went down to the 3rd floor, I met that ghost again, as if she was standing there waiting for me to come down. Still with the same demeanor as if nothing had happened, this time the girl opened her mouth again. Dash, can you lend me your body? I ask myself. Dash, what? Am I hearing it wrong? I closed my eyes, then opened them and looked around me. Master, master, and the soldiers were not here. Very quickly I returned to defensive mode. With 2 thumbs closed, the remaining 4 fingers wrapped tightly around the thumb, I turned to look at the other girl. Dash, what did you borrow my body for? Dash, I'm hungry, go buy food. Only then did I see that she had no legs, but there was clearly a rope holding her back. Just looking at her, I knew that she was bound by a spell cast by a certain master. Looking at that gloomy face, I knew that she was very angry about something. It was clear that her eyes had pupils, but because of her resentment, those eyes turned black, a black color that seemed bottomless. I also know that she can only walk around here, because the talisman will not allow her to leave this place. But then I woke up again because of her words. I walked away quickly. Behind me was a creepy, teasing smile. When I got down the stairs, I breathed a sigh of relief. Because for a ghost, if they are hungry, they just ask humans to set up offerings and then they will eat themselves. As for a ghost, they will borrow a human's body to sit and eat. The consequence after a person's body is borrowed by a demon is that one of their 7 senses will no longer automatically close. It will create a way for them and even ghosts to freely enter the body without even the owner of the body being able to resist. People with such problems must ask the master to close the 7 organs, otherwise their body will be like a house without a lock, anyone can come in if they want. I went down to buy snacks. When I came back up, I deliberately waited for someone to get into the elevator to join me. When the elevator door was about to close, I saw her standing outside. I felt uncomfortable being followed like that. Dash, even if I let you borrow it, you still can't enter this body, don't follow it in vain. The person in the elevator looked at me. Dash, what do you say? When I heard people ask, I was dumbfounded. Dash, hi, yes, it's nothing. Dash, I heard you mumbling something earlier. I looked down at the snack wrap. Dash, oh, nothing, I just bought a missing cake. Can you come down and buy it back? Dash, no need, that's enough. The elevator opened, and that person and I walked out, smiling to say goodbye. As soon as I entered the house, I met Master. He said to me seriously, Dash, it's best not to get involved in things that don't concern you. It's the 7th lunar month, I'm not weak, but during this time my soul is much more flexible. He only told me one thing and then left. After I said goodbye to him, I still didn't understand what it was, but I knew he was giving me instructions for something to come. Everything was normal until 4 days later. For more than a week here, every day my sister invited me to remove rice, but I always replied that I was lazy. So today she was the same. After coming home from work, she lay down to rest for a bit and then invited a country girl out. Dash, hey, let's go out today, you've been here for more than a week, let's go show Saigon. Dash, hoy, I'm so lazy, I'd rather stay at home. Dash, no, tomorrow you can lie down as much as you want, but today you have to go out with me. I frowned, because I found my sister's attitude somewhat strange. Thinking about it, I thought I'd go out once, after all, I've refused to go out a lot these days. I went to the bathroom to change my dress, put on some lipstick, and then rinsed my hair out. I looked at myself in the mirror then turned to ask her. Dash, is that okay? I just took a shower so I'm too lazy to use perfume. Dash, you're beautiful anyway, let's go. Dash, slowly, urgently, bring this lipstick to the dining room. I held up the mini lipstick to show her, then stuffed it into a self-made hammer bag and tied the bag's mouth shut. Dash, let's go. Dash, I think the lipstick color on your lips is more beautiful. Dash, natural brown orange, this color makes you look like a mixed-race girl with a little makeup. Dash, no problem, just a little bit of your time is an hour. Dash, hee hee, when you invite someone out, you have to be patient and wait for them to be beautiful. At home, mom pampers you, you can relax whatever you want, but you can't come here. My sister and I went out, at first she took us out to eat hot pot, then she tried to find a way to stay the night at a hotel. While staying in the hotel, I asked, Dash, if you don't come home, why don't you stay in a hotel and waste money? Then I'll let you enjoy it completely and then what else can you ask for? Dash, I don't dare, it's a strange place and I can't sleep and enjoy it. Dash, you're so tired, you'll have to go home tomorrow. I exhaled loudly. Dash, I don't know what to say, oh my God. Dash, then look at your phone. That's all I had to do. I lay down and looked at my phone until 2 in the morning before I fell asleep. Before I could fall asleep, I was woken up. My sister and I went to have breakfast before returning. When I got to the 5th floor and was about to go in, my sister stopped and talked to the sister on the upper floor. Dash, you two just came back from breakfast? I replied. Dash, yes. As for my older sister, her eyes kept glancing sideways. Dash, last night, was the same, right? There were only 3 people standing around, but her voice was low, as if she was afraid someone would hear her. The other woman nodded. Dash, last night there was a power outage from the 2nd floor to the ground floor. 3rd floor and above are normal. My sister replied. Dash, I know, that's why yesterday I lured little lamb to eat and sleep outside instead of coming back. Dash, is that weird? I heard 2 people talking but didn't understand, so I curiously asked the other woman. Dash, what's the matter, Ms. Hung? My sister quickly replied. Dash, it's okay, go to the bedroom. Ms. Hung recently asked my sister. Dash, you doing? You haven't told Lamb yet? Dash, well, he knows there's nothing he can do. This little girl is very curious. Tell him it's a pain in the ass. Ms. N. Hung nodded slightly. It seemed like he had no intention of telling me. I just looked at the two of them. Dash, is it something related to the witch on the second floor? Both of them looked at me with wide eyes. My sister just asked. Dash, did you see that? I calmly replied. Dash, it seems like every time I come down I see you. What's going on? Tell me. Aren't you scared? Dash, don't be afraid, but you can't do anything, don't worry. Dash, do you hear me tell you? I nodded excitedly. Dash, listen, listen. The three of them pulled together into the room and Ms. N. Hung said. Dash, I heard that at that time, a couple lived here. About the time the boy left. After this girl committed suicide, her family came to pick up her body and bury it. When he died, it was said that his boyfriend was not there. Other dates are nothing. It's all normal, but every year when the other child commits suicide, he comes here to destroy it, turning off the electricity from the second floor, but when people come to fix it, they can't. The boss here invited me to come and see and make offerings without paying anything. It's been years. I heard that guy left me for another girl. I couldn't think straight and then cut my wrists and committed suicide. The day you committed suicide was yesterday, sister. While listening to a horror story, I suddenly saw the angry look of the main character in the story. She angrily rushed towards me. Before I could scream, soldiers appeared. There were only 3 people. They raised their hands to signal her to stop. But she was very fierce, staring at me and even intentionally approaching me. Soldiers stood in horizontal rows, their souls still smelling of white chrysanthemums. The smell of my favorite flower in the world, and to me, there is no flower more beautiful than chrysanthemums. I was intoxicated by that light scent. The other girl was also unwilling but left. The soldiers saved me again. I just felt like they and I were very familiar. But I couldn't understand where that familiar feeling came from. I spent an afternoon thinking about that girl's story. Thinking about it, I still don't know what that girl's story is like. The information I know is too little, and the reason for her turning into a demon is definitely partly due to a certain lover. In my mind, the master's advice still appeared. Dash, it's best not to get involved in things that don't concern you. It's the 7th lunar month. I'm not weak, but during this time my soul is much more flexible. I sighed. If I argued with my teacher, the mountain would crush me, so I put that aside and pretended I hadn't heard or seen it. Anyway, people only break it for one day. Today it will be fine. But very quickly I realized it didn't stop there. Lying in the room around 10 o'clock at night. At this hour, if it were in the countryside, it would probably be quite quiet, but in Saigon, this hour is still very lively. I can still hear cars running outside a lot. People often say that when the yang prospers, the yin declines, but now I lie down and hear the resentful cry of that soul. Anyway, I thought I wouldn't care about this, so I just let it go. I plugged in my phone and turned on the music, wanting to drown out that chilling sound. But it was almost 11 o'clock and I still heard her crying. The crying became louder and louder, more resentful, and also made me more angry. Because the soldiers noticed my insecurity, they also appeared. I see them, so I feel a lot more secure. I went to her bed. She was sleeping and I woke her up. Dash, sister, sister. Wake up. Dash, what? Crazy girl, I just fell asleep. Dash, how many days has the ghost that Ms. N. Hung mentioned been here? Dash, you're crazy, you're asking this in the middle of the night. Dash, rep. She was in a sleepy state, so she answered me. Dash, no, it's over since he messed up yesterday. Today is normal. But don't be too curious, you'll be tired. I heard that people invited many monks to come and still couldn't lead that ghost away. Dash, oh, that's all I asked, I didn't do anything. Sleep well. She pulled the blanket over her head, as if I was bothering her. I returned to bed. Thanks to the soldiers next to me, I was able to sleep a little with peace of mind, but was startled by the sound of ghostly laughter interspersed with intermittent sobbing. Every second hits my ears, making it impossible for me to sleep. And my mood was as chaotic as those sounds. Wasn't it just a one-night stand? Why can I hear it now? I went to her bed. She slept as if she didn't hear anything. I looked at the clock. It was almost 1 in the morning. Why does time pass so slowly tonight? Minus the time I first started hearing those sounds, it was about 3 hours. I sat cross-legged on the bed for more than 5 minutes, deliberately preventing myself from hearing her cries and laughter. I started counting the number of times I chanted the spell. By the 68th time, I no longer heard laughter from her. Instead, it was filled with painful tears. Right now I realized I couldn't continue any longer. If I wanted to, I'd have to sit still for 5 minutes and then the chants would start over at number 1. I don't know about other people, but for me, if during the time I recite, if less than 108 times I am interrupted by external or internal circumstances, I will either stop or start again. So many nights, the total number of times I chanted was sometimes more than 400 times to complete it. I sat for more than 3 minutes, not hearing her laugh anymore, but her cold cry made me a little bitter. Normally my eyes were already wet, but now they were probably even more watery than that. I decided to slide out of bed, quietly open the door and go out. The soldiers seemed to know what I was trying to do. They stopped me. I also looked at them and raised my hand to signal that there was no need to stop me. They let me go, but then more of them appeared. With each step down the stairs, my legs trembled more and more. She was on the 2nd floor, probably knowing I was coming down, so she let out that creepy laugh. The soldiers were still following me closely, and it was finally time to meet. I looked at her and then swallowed the heavy saliva in my throat. The atmosphere suddenly became tense and heavy. I looked at her but couldn't say anything, but she was probably afraid to approach me because she saw so many soldiers. I looked down at the rope again. I knew full well she had never been able to return to her home. People often believe that wherever there is incense, there will be ghosts. I also think that her family built an altar for her, but unfortunately they did not know that she could not return. After all, a soul becomes a demon just because they have experienced trauma and resentment for a long time. I asked her, "Dash, where is your room?" She raised her trembling arms and answered me with a gritted voice. "Dash, over there." I listened to her response, clearly knowing that she was afraid of the soldiers walking next to me, but her tone still seemed very fierce. I got to the door of the room. It was locked. I turned to look at her. She looked at me and then at the soldiers. I suddenly realized that her magic was being counteracted by the soldiers next to me, causing her to weaken. I just turned to the soldiers. "Dash, can you guys leave for a bit?" They shook their heads. I knew they would never leave. But I still insist. "Dash, you guys can just leave for a little while. I think she won't do anything to me." They were still standing there, helpless. I unbuttoned my shirt, pulled it up to reveal my chest and the 9th vertebrae in the back, counting from top to bottom. They are soldiers. If I don't dress properly, they will leave. As soon as they disappeared, she laughed again. suddenly appeared and gave me a key. It's not true that it was given, it was just that the key suddenly fell at my feet. I picked it up and saw that the key had a layer of black paint on it, like it was marked because it belonged to this special room. I held it in my hand and hesitated, glancing at her slightly. I saw that she was really looking forward to me entering the room. I also don't know if the previous teachers after coming here encountered anything that I shouldn't have encountered or not. Slowly inserting it into the lock, with a click, the door was opened. I walked into the cold room. I felt like it was a bit dusty and had a slight musty smell. It was as if no one had cleaned it for a long time. While I was concentrating on finding where the talisman was, she approached me again. I'm hungry, go find food. She deliberately approached my body, waiting for me to make a mistake so she could borrow my body. I was angry because of the way she treated me. Who do you think I am? Obviously, I can ignore her and sleep peacefully in bed. But I didn't do that because I heard her crying. I really couldn't bear it. Obviously, I have a protection that I'm sure 10 people like you can't get close to me. I gave up that protection just to reduce the distance between me and her, but she took advantage of it and wanted to take over my body. Obviously, I'm younger than you, but I think more about you than you think about me. It's clear that you and I are just strangers. If you don't need me to interfere, then I'm sorry. You don't deserve me to continue. Keep looking for something more. She was stunned by me. Even though she was still upset, my eyes were still searching for that talisman. To others, perhaps they will think of me as someone who worries about money, but tell the truth. I really hate seeing things like this. Using magic to force a ghost or a human is a despicable act to me. Then I found the talisman hidden in a hidden corner outside the railing. She quickly urged me. Burn it up. I looked at her. Please return the key to its original position, I'll wait here. I closed the door and put the key on the floor. The key was slowly pulled away in front of me. I stood there, still holding the amulet of an unknown faction in my hand. When she came back she still said, burn that talisman. I adjusted my shirt and rebuttoned it. Sighing, he picked up the talisman and went back up to his room, and she followed. Yes, I'm leading a demon into my room. Then I went up to the room and let her in with me. Closing the door and sitting cross-legged on the bed, I looked at her. Come up here and lie down. She told me. Burn that talisman. I ignored her words, curled my fingers and clasped my hands together. This action, this posture, can help me switch bodies with my own heroic spirit. She suddenly hesitantly asked me. So, where should I lie? On that pillow. I told her to sleep on her pillow. She shyly asked me. You're not afraid of inviting a soul to lie on your pillow, then when you lie down again it will. I'm not afraid, so I invite you to lie down. If you don't lie down then please keep quiet for me. Why does your voice sound like an old man's voice? Even though I didn't have a mirror, I heard her ask that. I also knew that the corners of her lips were no longer smiling, and the hair on her eyebrows started to stand up, and she also understood that she should be silent. I felt her lying on my pillow. Both hands began to relax slowly. It was like I and the other heroic spirit became one. As soon as I looked down at the talisman, I knew what sect it belonged to, the rank of the talisman and the age of the person who made it. I also knew everything, and he also know that I have moved the talisman away through visualization. Depending on each sect, talismans will have different levels of enchantment, mostly from 3 to 7 levels. The higher the level, the greater the level of control, and it takes time for the talisman to increase in level. People who are cursed at the 5th or 6th level are difficult to save, and at the 7th level, the only way is to wait for death. It's not that the magician doesn't want to save, but because only 4 parts of the 7 parts of a person's soul are so severely cursed, and only 2 parts of 3 parts of the soul remain. One is to turn crazy after removing the enchantment, against all kinds of love charms, the other is to turn foolish towards killing others, but after that, they will still be invisibly haunted and afraid for the rest of their lives. Only when reaching the 7th level, the soul that decides a person's life or death leaves the body because it has lost one of the other 2 souls for too long, then the person is officially dead. And after they die, the teacher who cast the spell that day will not let them enter the sound, and will also find ways to keep that soul. Because most shamans worry too much, they are afraid that when they are old and their energy declines, that soul will come to collect their debt. Or come to find descendants from 3 generations to reclaim an old debt. That's why I hate seeing things like this. Gratitude and resentment last for many generations, and the consequences are often not as simple as death is the end. A magician who casts a spell will practice visualization, which is what allows the other teacher to know who his or her talisman is used for what purpose, and to control the person being cast, their actions, and gestures. The person is cursed. Whenever the teacher uses visualization, he will know. The teachers will cultivate their souls far beyond the limits of the body, so I cannot explain why there is a so-called visualization for the shaman to track the target. And right now, I'm sitting here, on my bed in my room. The teacher who made this talisman communicated with me through his own visualization. I don't care about children, quickly put that talisman back in its original position and it will be as if nothing happened. I answered him. Why should we put it back in its original position when we worked so hard to bring it here? He let me feel that his cultivation base was very high, because there were many soldiers around him. A shaman could only get 5,000 soldiers in his lifetime, and he was about to reach that number. Already. No wonder the previous sorcerers all chose to leave, first because the number of soldiers was not enough to fight, and secondly because they did not want to waste soldiers unjustly because of a strange soul without knowing the victory would belong to them. Who? After all, subduing a soldier is very difficult, not because they are selfish and do not want to save them, but because they have relatives, children and grandchildren. If their morals are attacked, the lucky person will only be disabled in a few places. Unlucky people live their whole lives in vegetative state, becoming a burden to their families. So they often choose to withdraw. His voice responded to my question. I don't want to hurt someone much younger than me, and also a woman. Would someone like you really give in to a woman? The heroic spirit in me asked him. I also saw him staring at me through the visualization of the heroic spirit. You. I don't know why the patriarch soldiers gathered in such large numbers, they became more and more numerous. Only then did I feel the magic of that heroic spirit. Are you a reincarnated heavenly master? What is that? What did he just ask? Before I could ask him that question, he seemed to negotiate. How should I address the person in front of me? Mr. Lin replied. Let's address each other based on the age of this body. So, can you please not break that talisman? Let it be, don't solve. There is no torture that can be more haunting than the fear from within your heart. I automatically have my own way of doing things, doing good or evil, everything has its own karma. He just remained silent, seemingly trembling at the heroic spirit's casual words. Before leaving, that part still said one sentence. The true mind develops the path, the 3 lifetimes are still worthy of a teacher. 100 years of empty mind, forever witnessing. I opened my eyes, the connection between me and the heroic spirit was gone, and I no longer knew anything about visualization. But I still feel that the heroic spirit part is now parallel to me without losing it. I saw her lying on the pillow looking at me, startled. Still the same saying. Burn that talisman. I took a deep breath, calmly played a song without lyrics with percussion sounds that can stimulate the brain, and then lay down. Didn't you hear what I said? I looked at her. I'm tired, please return my pillow so I can sleep. She pointed to another pillow. And that. I'm used to sleeping on that pillow, now sit still and listen to the music, stop making noise, I'm tired. She walked out. It seemed like she didn't like listening to this song, but she definitely couldn't go away. I turned down the volume a little and started to sleep. I lay on the pillow that the other soul had just laid on. During the time I fell asleep, I saw broken pieces of that soul's life, all scenes of love between a man and a woman, and even a scene of a brother standing there. Confronting her, he pushed her down and left angrily. When the sky begins a new day, it's also the time I prepare to go to work. While driving to the company, I pieced together the images in that dream. Everything is still very uncertain. I had to put that aside, go to the company and focus on my work. The working environment is very comfortable, everyone is sociable, they help me a lot. And sometimes they catch me talking and laughing alone, so they probably think I'm crazy. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks, as long as I know and understand what I'm doing, live respectfully, and don't harm anyone, then heaven will arrange it. In the afternoon, when I finish work, I go home. My job requires dexterity and a little memorization, but all other problems seem to be absent. When I entered the room, I turned on some music like in the evening. When she saw me coming back, she quickly grabbed my hand. Burn that talisman, as if I begged you. I looked at her, her thoughts were clear to me, I smiled lightly. If you burn the talisman, who will be the first person you will look for? Her eyes suddenly hardened, staring at one place, her voice gritted. It's that damn spellcaster. I take a deep breath. Now I'm going to take a shower, go eat, go to work, and when I get home at night I'll think about this issue. Is it burned? I looked at her, calmly. I have never promised anything before, just what I said, I will definitely do it. Don't you like listening to this song? Don't like it, it doesn't suit me. Try once to empty your mind and listen to it. I know you're afraid of mantras because when I play them you'll have a headache. I don't like to control you in such a formal way, now I'm leaving. She went to the market to buy food, so there was only one person and one ghost at home. I went outside the railing, facing the western sky, sat down and covered my legs with a blue cloak. Master. If you can hear my voice, please let me ask what is rebirth of Heavenly Master. There was no reply from the Master, I only saw the other heroic spirit sitting cross-legged, closing his eyes, and then Thuong Dam General Tien General and Trung Dam General Divine General standing behind him. My friend, I am a Heavenly Master, reincarnated, I have returned here again. It's not like I've never seen a person controlling the soldiers of the underworld, it's just a person controlling the soldiers of heaven, this is the first time. I'm scared inside. I know I was born because of your unfinished karma, but why are you a man and I am a woman? In the end, male or female is just the outside body, whether you are successful or not is the core. So is that Heavenly General the supporter of any talisman? Are not. They also have to practice. So, after I finish repaying my karma, will I disappear? No, human life, no matter what you think or what you choose, is all about things that are arranged to happen and have to be thought about. When the time comes to end your life, it is not certain that predestined relationships will end. Only when you pay off all the predetermined karma can I sit in that body and do something important. So that soul, what should I do? I believe you will have your own way. I sighed, opened my eyes. The afternoon sky was soft, the wind blew gently on my hair, giving me a slight feeling of impermanence. Sunset is the magical beauty before night begins. I went back in, took off my robe, and folded it. At this time my older sister also returned. The two of us divided the work together. By the time we filled the empty stomach, it was already dark. Are you going to the supermarket to buy things, lamb? No, go away. Let's go together for fun. What do we do at home? I'm so lazy, just stay home. Yes, if you don't go then I'll go. Do you want to buy anything? No, if you have time, come and buy me a cup of Thai sweet soup. Yes. Go have fun. My sister left again. At home, I opened the unfinished painting in the countryside. Threading and embroidering, after a while I noticed that soul again. She's been sitting quietly since the afternoon until now. It seems like she's already familiar with that song. I'm also happy. It's just a normal song without lyrics, but if a person can't get rid of their thoughts, they won't be able to stop thinking. You can feel how good the music is. For a normal person, it's normal to let go of thoughts, but for her, a ghost, resentful for a long time, thoughts of revenge always surround her in her mind, and she can stop thinking about it. A little of those things is already a success. I held that talisman again, wondering if I should release that soul. If I burn it, what will happen? I can't predict anything. Putting the talisman aside, I picked up the needle and embroidered each tiny stitch, not knowing when I would finish this picture. The ghost suddenly spoke to me again. Why don't you burn the talisman? How long do you plan to keep me? I don't know if anything will happen after burning it. Your life is still normal, but I need freedom. I don't think things are that simple. But why don't you listen to what else you want to eat? Do you need me to serve you boiled eggs? She shook her head. For some reason, I don't feel hungry here, and that talisman doesn't hurt me like it did on the second floor. That's strange, I don't know either. She looked at the mini cup of chrysanthemums I left on the table. Looks like you like that white flower. Well, it is the most beautiful flower in this life. Why? I shook my head. I don't know, I just know that I've liked it since I was little, because it gives me a feeling of peace that other flowers can't bring. I was embroidering while answering her. I was careless and pricked my finger with the needle. The needle wound wasn't too deep, but to keep it from sticking, I took out the blood from the tip of my finger and put it in my mouth to suck on. The incident also made me lose interest in embroidering. I gathered up the needle and thread and put away both the picture and the talisman. I went to bed and didn't know when I fell asleep. I saw myself following the other spirit to a strange place. I looked down at her feet. Strangely, the rope at my feet was gone. Could it be that my sister had gone home and burned the talisman? I followed her, crossed the road full of large bamboo. The familiar smell of wormwood flowers stimulated my nostrils. In front of me was an old 3-room house. In front of the house were planted 5 tiger wormwood trees. Sure enough, She flew into the house, immediately woke up, and the whole line of soldiers in the teacher's silence also came out. How can you win in a battle of 1 against 1,000? Even if you are a demon, it's the same. Hitting my ear was the teacher's proud laugh. Dash, ha ha ha, did you come here to give your life? I'm not as weak as you think. It seemed that she was also afraid, her words were trembling but filled with a lot of resentment. You come out here, I'll kill you. Why did I have such a strange dream? Thousands of soldiers rushed at that soul and me. I felt like I was about to die, then there was a gravitational force pulling me and that soul back. At this time I also woke up startled, my left chest, my heart was beating so hard it felt like it was about to fall out, I had to breathe a lot. I suddenly realized I was standing, in my right hand still holding a branch of chrysanthemum, crushing the flower onto that talisman. I still didn't understand anything when I heard the voice of the other heroic spirit. Dash, are you okay? Dash, did you just save me? Dash, we may be two but we are one, there's no need to separate roles and address us like that. I looked at Lin. Dash, but I'm not as old as you. Answer my question. I don't save you, you save yourself. Why did you leave that talisman stained with blood? In my mind, I remembered the time I cut my hand while embroidering. Dash, no, I stopped the bleeding and then removed the talisman. Dash, but that part of the water still had blood, otherwise the spiritual power of the talisman would not have been destroyed. From now on, don't let your blood get on any spiritual object, disaster can come from the slightest carelessness. I turned to that soul. Dash, are you okay? Dash, correct. Her eyes were red in the darkness. Dash, I can't take revenge, I definitely won't be reincarnated. My weak heart was threatened by her and was about to fall out a second time. The other Lin calmly asked her again. Dash, after taking revenge, will you be reincarnated? Dash, yes, after taking revenge, I will go and be reincarnated, but if revenge is not taken, I will not go. Dash, all things in this world come into existence from fate, from karma to pay back. Karma in a lifetime is inevitable. Souls are truly reincarnated when they have let go of the joys and sorrows of this life and are ready to go to another world, not just leaving. If she gets revenge, she'll be happy. But resentment will be transferred from her to the other person. Then it's like a cycle, revenge then revenge, revenge then revenge. Spinning around like that forever, do you feel comfortable? Dash, do you think that by letting those who harm me live happily, I can happily reincarnate? Dash, everything in life comes about because of fate. Each person's cause and effect are not the same but they meet each other in accordance with fate. Sometimes these meetings are just to reconnect with old relationships, sometimes to repay each other's debts. The person who hurt us, why do we have to come back to remember the debt so we can meet again in the next life? Dash, ha ha ha, ha ha ha, I don't believe there is cause and effect in this world. She laughed madly and shouted so loudly. My skin was tingling because of her laugh, but Lin just smiled. Okay, I will set you free. As he spoke, Lin raised his hand towards the talisman, and the string immediately broke. She laughed excitedly, madly, and flew out of the room. I opened my eyes and asked Lin. Dash, why did you do that? Dash, you absolutely refused to stop. Your advice is useless. The true Dharma has no words to explain, true enlightenment depends on yourself. The remaining unmarried children in the neighborhood. Dash, where do you think she will go? Dash, that soul will go find that guy. Dash, she will kill that boy, why do you let her kill more people? Dash, my friend, things won't be like that, that soul will return here soon. Dash, no one who has freedom would choose to return to bondage. If you let a ghost go like that, she will definitely kill people out of hatred. Dash, I didn't originally bind that soul, I didn't tell that soul to come back and take revenge. I want my friend to go through this. Dash, for what? Dash, the Dharma really has no words to explain. On Lin left, I fell onto the bed, thinking of all the cruelest and most horrifying ways to take revenge on my ex-lover. I've only left her in the room for a short time, but now that she's gone, I feel a little uneasy. What if she finds that teacher again? I also don't understand why I am so worried about a soul that is not a relative. 1 day, 2 days, then a whole week, my life gradually returned to its original state after the day she left. Now I don't see her on the second floor anymore, and from now on, she probably won't come back to destroy this place anymore. That's fine, whoever borrows will pay. Letting her be free is better than forcing her to stay here with me. At first, Master didn't want me to get involved in this matter. Probably because he was worried about me, afraid that the other teacher would take action when he wasn't around. I am just an ordinary person. There is an additional heroic spirit who knows how to command troops, but before I thought the other heroic spirit was an independent soul. And there are times when the other heroic spirit takes control of this body. Usually times like that are when I encounter Kumanthong farmers, agreeing that they only raised them to help with business, but nonetheless it is a devil child. I never and have never once exposed what I see inside if that person has not touched me. On the outside, it's farming to attract customers. On the inside, it's farming to destroy competitors silently. I don't know what's on my body, but when I meet those ghost children, the heroic spirit always negotiates for him to sit in the body. I'm still conscious and can see everything around me. I'm just no longer proactive. My voice also becomes older. My eyes are no longer wet, and at that time I will see ghosts. I only dare to stand outside. I don't dare say raising Kumanthong is doing good or evil. Because according to the Master's words, everything that comes and happens in this world is within the rules of 64 monsters of Phuong Du, meaning everything that changes human life is within it. A person who is proficient in 64 monsters of the Phoenix is someone who can accurately calculate the time and cause of an event from the past to the future. But those things are so advanced that I don't know. Movement here includes a person's thoughts and actions. When they do something, whether bad or good, the results will change at any time. If you are good, you will find good, but if you live evil, you will only receive evil. Sometimes I also want to be like a normal person, forgetting all the memories of my previous life and following nature to repay the debt of another life. But no, I'm not like them. I have a special thing called Tan Min Mong. It gives me freedom, autonomy, thinking and acting almost like when I'm awake. The only difference is that I knew I was dreaming and realized that this was my subconscious, the people who had passed through the lives of the previous heroic spirits. Through it, I also learned that I was once a man, also once a woman, each life completing a human life. The people I meet in this life are people I have met, loved, and were relatives. It's just a pity that I recognize them, but they don't recognize me. Other than smiling, I can't do anything else. I just hope that in those people's dreams, I will be happy, even just once, because it is an invisible thing that bridges the gap to meet again in the next life. Master told me, whether there is bad fate or good fate in this life, it is all due to the root cause from the previous life. Paying off all unfavorable conditions is also paying off your own karma, so don't let go of blaming any unfavorable conditions. No matter how many adversities I have experienced, it is still not as good as that soul's adversities. She ended her life at a very young age. Her parents must have been very heartbroken. Just ask if the yellow leaves are still there. On the tree, green leaves fall, who is not sad? Life became more stable, then after 2 weeks, she returned to the apartment. She came to find me. That day, I just came home from work and saw her standing at the door. Dash, why did you come back here? Dash, he's dead. I don't have enough strength to confront that teacher. So why don't you go find your family? Dash, yes, I hope to meet them very much, but I can't approach them. A tap on my shoulder, I turned around, it was my older sister. Dash, why don't you go into the room, what are you babbling about? Don't tell me you're talking to a ghost. Dash, no. Just calculating salary. Dash, hey, what are you going to do? I'm sure it won't be worth the money your mom gave you once to buy things. I sighed. Dash, that's just the job, next month if you're diligent enough, you'll get a higher salary. Dash, oh, I thought you were a little critical. The important thing here is to spend your own money and eat well. When you go to work you can communicate with people, not to be controlled by your mother. If your salary is small, you can't eat and spend a lot, there's nothing to complain about. Dash, it's good to think like that. My sister and I talked as we entered the house, and the other soul also followed. After I finished showering, I went out and asked her, Dash, is that person dead? Can't you take revenge? Dash, yes, he had a traffic accident and died more than a year ago. He apologized to me and explained why he did that. I didn't mean to ignore it, but because he was taken by the seventh patriarch of his house to practice something. Besides, they also apologized to me on behalf of their nephew. Having such a serious accident was considered his retribution. But when I returned home, it was clear that my parents had built an altar for me, but I couldn't sit there, couldn't get close to my mother. I felt a headache and dizziness when standing near her. Maybe that patriarch of that family was busy cultivating, so he didn't have time to advise his children or grandchildren, or I don't know what caused things to go so far. The 7 patriarchs are counted from him and gradually add 6 generations. The 7 patriarchs refer to those who have passed away, and if we count their age is very high. I turned to ask her, Dash, why did he use a spell to bind her? Dash, when I committed suicide, I went to trouble him and his new lover, but just one night he went to find a spellcaster. He said that when he went to work, he only told the other teacher that he didn't want to be bothered by me anymore, not that he cast a spell to lock me in this place forever. He really didn't know about me being locked up. The soul has the ability to distinguish between lies and truth, so I asked her, Dash, how did you feel when you heard him say that? Dash, I see he's telling the truth, but how can I forget this? I've been locked up for 5 years. For a long time I just wanted to be free to demand justice. I don't know what to advise her, because only people experience the feeling of being locked in a cold room for a long time, and only having one lost day in a year can accumulate enough resentment to vent. Only outsiders can understand that uncomfortable feeling. What everyone saw was that the light could not turn on the day she died, and she had to endure loneliness and pent-up resentment for a whole year to be able to take those pains beyond the barrier of the escape talisman. Go outside. After one night, she left fear in the people here. I suddenly realized that the wild laughter and the chaotic, horrifying cries that I heard that night were actually just a cry for help from a ghost. Yes, ghosts don't know goodness, but if life isn't oppressive or unfair, those souls don't need to become demons. Fortunately, there were soldiers protecting me by my side, so she didn't act rashly, but if it wasn't for sure, I wouldn't have dared to get involved in this matter. I was silent for a while, then asked her, Dash, why can't I approach my mother anymore? Obviously, there is an altar for me in the house. Dash, I don't know, in my house now there is an additional place to worship Buddha. After a few days of following my relatives, I saw that my mother would recite sutras for me and pray for me every afternoon, but I felt dizzy and unable to hear those words. In a moment I realized the root cause of the problem. I smiled and played the familiar instrumental song. Dash, please slowly listen to this song. I want you to concentrate on listening like the day before when you closed your eyes and listened to it for a long time. Dash, for what? Dash, if you don't try, you won't know, but if I take you outside now, I'm afraid that if you're unlucky enough to meet someone who uses a sedation charm, you'll get hurt again. Try it. I also don't believe that I could advise a ghost to listen. She sat down and said nothing. I kept quiet so she could listen. That night, I used the old way to communicate with the heroic spirit, but an image appeared in my mind. I saw myself giving the soul a glass of water. In the small glass of water, there was a white chrysanthemum placed, floating on the water surface. When I woke up, I looked at the clock and it was past 1 in the morning. I also suddenly realized that I had just fallen asleep sitting up. I lay down on the bed, but my legs were stiff and numb and I couldn't feel them anymore. I had to use my hand to pull them straight out. The feeling of being numb like that was not comfortable at all. When the phone rang the alarm, it was time for me to wake up to start a new day, prepare everything for work, and my sister and I left the room. After work, I stopped by the grocery store and begged them to sell me 3 small glasses, but unfortunately they refused, selling the whole box of 16 glasses. I couldn't help but know what to do. Use the remaining 3 glasses. Save it, and when you return home, bring it back for the adults to drink. On the way home, I didn't forget to stop by and buy a branch of white chrysanthemum, a multi-petaled chrysanthemum. The seller was not very happy when I asked to buy exactly 1 branch. If you have all the necessary things, go home. Dash, why did you buy these? Dash, do business. Dash, Mom, after going to Saigon and doing these 3 things, I really don't know what to tell you. Dash, there are no ghosts anywhere, it's just that some people see them and others don't. I don't want that either, but because they have no place to look for me, should I chase them away? Dash, stop it, I don't argue with crazy people like you. Dash, whatever, stop wondering. You are also a spiritual believer. Dash, teachers are different, but you are the type of person who has a long-term illness that is hidden from you. Dash, do you believe that I cast a spell to keep you at home from going to work? Dash, stop it, I bow to you, all day long I'm charmed with wormwood, I don't even want to go out, I babble like a crazy person every day and night. Dash, so crazy, but now no one dares to cast harmful charms. Have you seen every time I go to the teachers, people always say that I cultivated too high in my previous life, so in this life I am protected by the patriarch, so they can't see me? Dash, who is a cultivator like you? You are a cultivator. Dash, now, let's look at the face. Buddha said that beauty in this life is due to practice and good deeds in previous lives, so this life will be beautiful. Look at me, who is more beautiful? This is due to cause and effect. Ladies, let's ask if one is born from the same father and the same mother, one is beautiful and the other looks good. My sister shook her head, pouted and remained silent, unable to argue anymore. My 2 sisters often fight like that, but she actually loves me very much and even understands me. I poured water into the glass, used scissors to cut the 3 chrysanthemums on top, so that the size of the flowers just spread out from the rim of the glass a little. I said to that soul, Dash, this is your water, you can drink if you're thirsty. As for the food, I didn't see the adults showing it to me, so I'm sorry, I didn't prepare it. She remained silent and didn't answer. I sighed and prepared my clothes to take a shower. When I finished eating and returned to bed, the chrysanthemum stem in the glass had darkened, so I changed it to another glass of water. Life keeps repeating like that for 3 days in a row. Today is Saturday, a day off. My work doesn't have overtime. When I get home I have to clock in. The last 2 days of the week are days off. Feeling that she was also familiar with this song, I changed it to another song, the Medicine Buddha Mantra. The soul immediately trembled, she covered her hands, opened her eyes and looked at me. Dash, are you afraid? Dash, turn it off, turn it off. I pressed pause. I originally wanted her to listen to the song without lyrics before this spell to train her how to get used to it, how to focus on the music and let go of thoughts, hatred, love, resentment, and hate. In her head, only then can she hear you. A spell is something that can oppress a spirit, and will cause discomfort if the spirit is filled with extreme thoughts. The spell opens up memories that the spirit does not want to see, but what I need from her is not oppression but acceptance of those memories. Dash, think about those things, gently put them aside, only then will you no longer be afraid, no longer have headaches. And only when you can do that will you be able to receive the prayers of your loved ones. Now that you can't overcome it yourself, no matter who chants all your life, you won't be able to feel it, because her resentment is too much unlike other souls. Compassionate Buddha does not oppress any sentient being, the only difference is that those who can hear it consider it a wonderful sound, while those who cannot hear it because of fear consider it a form of torture. She trembled. Dash, I'm scared, I'm scared. You know what to do. Just try it once, face those adversities and put them aside, okay? I didn't turn on the spell anymore, instead I placed my hand on the trembling soul's ear. A cold feeling belonging to the underworld made the hairs on my skin stand up all at once. I recited the mantra myself. I didn't make a sound so she couldn't hear it, but when she looked at my lips, she trembled a lot. I didn't do anything, I hadn't uttered a word yet, but after a while, she also realized that I hadn't made a sound. When she gradually calmed down, her eyes were still looking at me. Her feeling, the feeling of looking directly at a demon is not as pleasant as looking at a daisy, but I don't know why I am so steadfast now. A steadfastness that goes beyond defense and fear. Her lips seemed to be hypnotized by me, starting to move with me. At this point, I actually recited the spell gently, but when I spoke, I knew I was shaking. I started to release my hands slowly, my heart also beat very slowly. She trembled again, her two fangs began to emerge from her lips, gradually revealing their white appearance. Mom, after my life ended, my body suddenly became stiff and I hated my mouth and couldn't stop reading. I started to cry, but I also saw that she was trying to purse her lips to hide her two fangs inside. When she closed them, her eyes became bloodshot, two red tears slowly welled up. As it fell, I closed my eyes. I really didn't have the courage to look anymore. Right now I really want to scream and cry loudly to drown out what I'm facing. I closed my eyes like that for a long time, my rotten mouth couldn't stop. I felt her strong breath, like the breath of a predator when it caught its target, just waiting for the target to make the slightest movement to end its life. Soldier, patriarch, I know I am foolish. At this moment, why didn't anyone reach out to pull me out of danger? I don't know how long I read, but when I had the courage to open my eyes, there was a dead woman in front of me. She closed her eyes, her soul did not tremble, and her two fangs also disappeared. It turns out that this is the appearance of the unfortunate soul. She was very pretty. I stopped for a moment and asked her, Dash, you're not afraid anymore, right? Dash, thank you, this is a wonderful sound, right? I laughed it off. Dash, there is no such thing as a magical sound that makes you tremble while reading it. If you really heard it, I think you would also be able to hear it from your mother. Dash, thank you, I will return with my family. She held my hand tightly. Dash, my name is Deep, your name is Lamb, right? Dash, yes, please be careful. She left. This time was different from the time the heroic spirit dispelled the spell. She left in silence. I sat up and looked at the clock to realize I had been sitting like that for 3 hours. At this time, the master really appeared. Dash, it's true that even if you reincarnate into another life, you'll still be the same. You won't use spells to oppress anyone. Dash, why didn't you save me just now? I didn't save you, but you're still here. If you let me be so self-reliant like that, my heart will stop. Dash, everything is over, it's going well, it's still the subconscious that controls the conscious mind, I'm so happy. Dash, you should consider teaching me mystical arts. Dash, no, you don't need to learn that. He left, and now my life has truly returned to its original order. There is no longer the appearance of that soul in the apartment. She has returned to her family, which can be considered a comfort to her during the time she was unable to return home. After about a month, she came to see me again, this time in a much better state. Dash, can you follow me to protect me? Is it okay for just a short time? Dash, no need, I already have soldiers. Dash, I don't know how to thank you. Dash, no need, I already said thank you, it must be nice to be back home, right? Dash, yes, I'm very happy, now I can follow my relatives, talk to them through dreams, see them, be close to them. Since the day I passed away, my mother became interested in Buddhism, so I often follow her to the temple. Dash, can you go to the temple? That's fun. Dash, now I can sit and listen to the monks preach, read the scriptures comfortably, everything from the temple is like a wonderful sound, and the first wonderful sound I feel is from you. Dash, there you go again, at that time I didn't finish reading, what's the magic? Dash, it's the sound that doesn't make you afraid, helps you let go of extreme things. Without you, how could I calmly listen to my mother dedicating the sutras to me? Dash, that's because of my efforts, not because of you. Dash, don't you need my help? Just say something, I'll try. Dash, I don't know, I don't need anything. Dash, I really hope that one day I can repay you for all the trouble you've made. You go back first. Dash, yes. I said goodbye to her, I really couldn't find any wish from a soul. Today I decided to go to the temple. My sister drove me for more than an hour, passing several temples. Then we came to a small temple, for some reason I wanted to go there. The two sisters went in. After bowing to Buddha, I walked around the temple garden, the white lotus buds were waiting for enough time to bloom. I gently lifted the flower branch and admired its simple beauty. Dash, Amit Ba Buddha. I turned around because I heard someone's voice. It's Ms. Deeps, I smiled, she's really good, in just a short time she was able to let go of her fears and recite Buddha's name. Dash, Amit Ba Buddha. I didn't think I'd see you here. Dash, my mother often comes here, and this place is so peaceful. Thanks to the monk's teachings, I no longer want revenge. I talked to her for a while, feeling that this soul had been touched by Buddhism. My heart felt happy like a burden had been lifted. The love affair of a lifetime seems to have come to an end at this point. Sitting on the bench, I let my soul wander far away in the clouds. I feel that using a spell to bind a soul is truly a cowardly act, and it also makes the souls harbor resentment. Mr. Lin suddenly appeared and said to me, Dash, touching a ghost is like removing difficult knots in a rope. A person who is not considerate enough will choose to buy another rope, and a person who is not patient enough will give up halfway. Angry people will break the rope. My friend sees it, right? Dash, so you want me to go through this just to realize this? I also understand why those soldiers volunteered to wait for him to reincarnate again. Obviously he had the power to suppress the soul, but he didn't. Dash, doing so is quick, but it's not the best or easiest way. Dash, if because of repaying karma, this body is no longer intact, will you be angry with me? If you have karma, you have to pay for it. In the end, what you have is just a soul without a body. That soul will still have karma to divide into the next life. That's all for a human life. Will the teacher who locked him away receive retribution? Haha, I have no authority to determine retribution for anyone, so I don't know whether the other person will receive retribution or not. I only have one sentence: the true mind develops enlightenment. 3 lifetimes are still worthy of a teacher, 100 live with a vain mind, forever witnessing. Wondering why he trained to such a high level and was so strong, yet he was afraid of a girl who was so young. I think he is afraid of you, not of me. What's the difference between me and you? You are willing to come to this place to receive all the karma. I am for you to try to stay in a higher place. If we sacrifice for each other, how can we determine who is better? If while I repay my karma, this body is no longer intact, will you hate me? What you carry with you is not your body. If your karma is not returned, you cannot return to the path. As long as you pay it all, even if all the men in this world care, you will no longer care about anything in this world, from form to form, from big to small, good or evil. If they exist, they will definitely have their own cause and meaning. You can't underestimate the small things and you can't despise evil. Everything has its own meaning. A person who understands the existence of evil will thank it, not use comparison. I let my soul fall into the clouds again. Love in this world is inherently borrowed and repaid in a cyclical flow. No matter who is loved more or who suffers more, it is all because of the deep and shallow love in previous lives. When the relationship ends, the person will leave, and even if you want to hold on, you won't be able to hold on anymore. The fate of losing love will quickly disappear. People will also not be able to measure people's hearts. Who knows if the other person loves you as much as you love the other person? To sacrifice one's life for someone is a pity because it is an unworthy sacrifice. Run out of